All right, hello and welcome. Day One Patch Podcast, episode 522, baby.
Is that the
I'm your
official
host,
title?
Ryan Johnson. That is the official title. It says it
Episode
right here in the doc.
522, baby. I'm looking. I'm going to look at it. It doesn't say
There
that.
you go. Is it not updating in real time?
No, it just says Bab now.
No, look again.
Oh, there we go.
I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Got here, Matt Lawrence.
What's up?
Matthew Lawrence.
That's me.
I just tried to scroll the document by clicking and dragging the left mouse like
Oh,
Farm Ridge Valley.
Touch screen over here.
Yeah.
He's merging Word docs.
I'm merging words. I'm finding similar words and putting them together.
Damn it. That's Tim Spence,
Yes, sir.
Twitch streamer extraordinaire.
Sure. Not self-proclaimed, that's for sure.
Well, I proclaimed it.
I know.
It was my proclamation.
I'll let you proclaim it.
Proclamation. We got an interesting show today. We're going to start off with video game fun facts, and Matt has one prepared that is topical, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So, I guess one of the stories that we're going to be covering is going to be the Oblivion remake leaks, because it's like as official as it can get without an actual official announcement now. So we're going to be covering that again. And so I thought I would cover a game that I actually didn't know about this until a few years ago. And it is the Oblivion PSP version. So Oblivion had a canceled version that was due to come out on the PSP. It was going to be developed by Climax Studios, which were co-developers on other projects such as Returnal, Wasteland 3, and Mafia Definitive Edition. It was to be a part of the Elder Scrolls Travels mobile series. This series was a spin-off series to the Elder Scrolls, and they were all on phones, mobile games, of course. But this is not mobile games like we have today, where we had like iOS and Android, and we had these nice graphics and things like that, or even like the first versions of the iPhone, or the first versions of Android. This is like flip phone, quite literally flip phone level, like graphics and things. So this is like no small feat. But anyway, this series had 4 games in total in it. Oblivion would have been the 5th. And there is also another Oblivion in here, which I'll get to in a second. It started off with Stormhold in 2003, and then another one in 2003 named Dawnstar, followed by 2004 Shadowkey, which was actually made for the N-Gage and the N-Gage QD, both ill-fated devices. But we were discussing this before the show, where it was weird how the N-Gage, was kind of panned, and people called it a taco phone, and no one really seemed to like it. But yet it got so much licensed, or like big IP titles. Like I remember playing in Wireless Wave in the mall. I remember trying out on a kiosk N-Gage. Yeah, on a kiosk N-Gage, like a PGA Tour, like I think it was a Tiger Woods game, which is kind of crazy. And then if you installed some of the original versions of Oblivion, or maybe other ones as well, but I mean, Tim, you remember this. Oblivion Mobile was released in 2006. This was also called the Elder Scrolls Travels Oblivion. This is not the game we're talking about, so it's a little confusing. This particular version was made for Java phones, and the PSP version was canceled. So we're going to be talking about the PSP version mostly today. But to touch on that Java phone edition, as you install some of those earlier versions of Oblivion, the installer would come up, the install wizard, and there would be like a little advertisement while it was like, installing files and doing what I had to do for the Elder Scrolls Travels, and it would say something like "Bring Oblivion on the go with you" and things like that.
Man, if you had the PC version of Oblivion on disc at the time, and you went to install it, one of the splash screens in the installer when it was like loading was an ad for this like flip phone version of Oblivion, and I have a screenshot of it because I just thought it was like. I went back to play it again, and I still have my discs, and then it's like doing installer, and it has this ad again, and I had to take a screenshot of it because I was like, I've never seen anybody else talk about this thing before, and I like have to see if other people know about it. So I have this like, at least for my purposes, this like picture proof of this thing that existed, because I never heard anyone else ever talk about it, but I still have that screenshot on my old laptop.
Well, I'd like to do a fun fact in the future for this specific series, because whereas like the PSP version kind of like steals the thunder because the PSP was like so capable of generating good graphics and things like that. Mm-hmm. Making games for phones back then was really cumbersome. Like Java phones were kind of like the first like, hey, this thing can run Java, so now we have sort of a standard thing. But I mean, standard-ish. Not all phones had the same screen sizes. Not all phones were flip phones. Not all phones had the same, like, they didn't all have arrow keys or whatever. And so it, like, for example, I know that for Stormhold, just really briefly in the notes, it said that several versions of Stormhold were made to accompany to accommodate a bunch of different phones. So it is not easy to make apps for a flip phone. Virtually impossible, really, in a lot of cases.
Like that Oblivion version was 2006 or possibly 2000. Yeah, it would have been 2006 because that's when you would have been able to buy Oblivion and then see this like ad. And like there were iPhones at the time, like smartphones existed, but they were still pretty new. Like the majority of people still had old phones, cell phones, flip phones. So like that was certainly a market to try to break into. And like you say, like these phones weren't necessarily there. It wasn't standardized, the hardware used in them. And like, how do you design a game for a screen that small that people aren't used to gaming necessarily on these devices unless it's literally something like Snake or like Breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something that, I mean, you could change to be like, oh, there's no arrow keys. We'll make it a couple of the buttons on the keypad because we know phones have keypads for the most part anyway.
Well, BlackBerry had the scroll ball, right?
Scroll ball or the track.
So that was
track
I
ball,
remember playing on my dad's work phone, playing Brick Breaker and stuff like that.
Well, when was the iPhone released, Ryan? Because I know the
2007.
iPhone. So 2007 for the iPhone, and then before that for the iPod Touch. Is that right?
iPod Touch came after the iPhone.
Came after the iPhone,
but they had games on iPods. You could play games on iPods, and they had the same kind of like Brick Breaker kind of. You played with the scroll wheel, or
because it had that tracking wheel that went around the play and pause button. Yeah.
the stuff we were doing back then, crazy.
Those things are awesome, man. Like anybody that I know that had one of those, like they either A, still have it, or B, they remember it very fondly.
It was like a simpler time for devices where it was like you kind of so I've seen people like, go and do the dumb phone trend where it's like they're kind of like digital minimalists or they're trying to like detox from a smartphone, whereas there's other people that are trying to decentralize their smartphone. I've seen that where they want, all the similar functionality, but they want to have like, the Walkman or the iPod, and then they want to have for the music, and then they want to have like maybe a Game Boy or a handheld, whatever it is, a handheld device for the gaming. And then a phone that's like capable-ish kind of thing for like maybe Uber and things like that. And then also like texting and things. So it's kind of interesting, like seeing how we've like pushed phones so far. And now they're like these like amazing computers in our pocket, but they also go off like 14,000 times a day. And it's like, holy crap, like this is a lot. But back to Oblivion PSP. So the PSP version, as I mentioned before, was meant to be, or was going to be much more robust than this Java phone version, of course, because the PSP is capable of generating 3D graphics, similar to like maybe PS1, PS2 era. The game was going to take place during the time period in game of 3E433, which stands for a year within the third era, otherwise known as the Septum era.
That's the same starting year as Oblivion, right?
That sounds correct.
433, I think that's. Anyway, sorry.
No, all good. But it is not taking place in Cyrodiil like Oblivion. It actually was to take place in High Rock, which is the Breton province. That is located in the northwest of Tamriel, which is the full land. If you're not familiar with Elder Scrolls, the Tamriel is the entire like kind of landmass,
the continent.
Yeah, that we talk about in the games. Now, the game was going to include 10 large levels resembling areas from the console version of Oblivion, but they were going to be more concentrated, of course, because the PSP, while capable, was not as capable as say, like a 360 or a PS3. 18 out of 21 of the skills from Oblivion were going to be present, and the controls were inspired by Metroid Prime. Now,
Metroid Prime?
Yeah.
Huh.
The game was
on the GameCube?
Yes, I believe so. Wait, no, it could have meant it just said Metroid Prime. They might have meant the DS, because the DS had a Metroid Prime version. But it had multiple ways to play. I remember you could use like a stylus to like turn, or I think you could use the face buttons. I mean, I'm going way back in my memory now. So
because this was, what did you say, 2006?
Six, yes,
because that would be the Wii as well. It could have been, was Metroid Prime Echo, is that on the Wii? Yeah.
I feel like it would not have been yet.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh wait, Echoes wasn't on the Wii. This is Prime 2 though, which is 2004. So yeah, it could have been the series anyway.
Yeah. So is the controls were inspired by Metroid Prime. The game was announced, meaning this PSP Oblivion was announced in 2006, and it was initially set for release in 2007, and then it was later sort of delayed and then listed for 2008. But unfortunately, it was eventually canceled with no official reason provided. Now, I actually learned about this game from this next part of my research, which is in 2016, beta builds and footage were leaked showing some gameplay features, but the project had long been shelved. ZeniMax removed the footage briefly, but before it was restored. And I didn't see this initial sort of release or this like accidental release or leak, whatever you want to call it. I actually saw somebody who had downloaded a bunch of the different builds and they were playing the game as completely as possible. And they would have to like do like half of one of the quests. Oh, it's crashing here. Let me try one of the other builds. Okay, yeah, we're able to get further this time. Things like that. So it was kind of a pain. But the game looked fantastic. Like I would have been all over this back in the day, especially since I used to have a PSP back then. I would have been all over this because it looked really, really cool. And the graphics were like surprisingly good. Almost, dare I say, comparable to what we have with Elder Scrolls Blades. Blades is better because it is more modern, but kind of crazy how well Oblivion translated to PSP. Now, the game was marketed as having the hallmark elements of Oblivion, such as characters voiced by big actors, having an award-winning soundtrack. The game, however, again, was canceled, never completed, but it did actually have an Amazon listing. So it was listed, and these are US prices. It was listed on Amazon at $39.99, and it was also listed at a few other retailers for approximately $10 more at $49.99. And I actually have the official, or the original, I suppose, Amazon description here. I'm just going to read that out. It's a brief paragraph. So Oblivion comes to the PSP with all your favorite freeform gameplay, unprecedented graphics, cutting-edge AI. That part's funny. And character voices by acting legends such as Patrick Stewart, Sean Bean, Terrence Stamp, and Linda Carter, along with its award-winning soundtrack. Gamers can choose to unravel Oblivion's epic narrative at their own pace or explore the vast world in search of their own unique challenges. After the mysterious and untimely death of the Emperor, the throne of Tamriel lies empty. With the Empire ready to crumble, the gates of Oblivion open and demons march upon the land, laying waste to everything in their path. To turn the tide of darkness, you must find the lost heir to the throne and unravel the sinister plot that threatens to destroy all of Tamriel. And now, what's kind of interesting about this is, I mean, this was on that page, the Oblivion PSP page, but it almost sounds more like the Oblivion console version because it mentions like, hey, go like wander the world. It kind of sounds like, and like go find this and go find the lost heir and like do basically the story of original Oblivion. So whether this would have been the final version of that Amazon description, who knows? Because again, the project was canceled. But this is kind of an interesting little tidbit of gaming history. And if you're interested, there's a couple of really great YouTube videos out there that I've watched over the years that cover like quite a lot of gameplay of this thing. There's quite a lot of playable thing. And I actually checked Reddit. If you're okay downloading these like leaked versions and things, people were getting this running actually on like the PSP emulator, the PSPPP emulator.
Yeah,
so,
I just found the same articles. Like I was just watching a YouTube video of it in the background here. This is like surprisingly comprehensive. Like this looks way better than I thought it was going to look. And like it functions very similarly. There's like destructible bits of the environment and stuff. Oblivion doesn't have that. You can't break crates in Oblivion.
No, yeah.
But you can do that in this. And it's got, like you said, a lot of the same skills. The looting, like the menus, UI looks exactly the same as vanilla Oblivion. Like this is crazy. Even starts with you in a jail cell as well, like like we would all expect.
And from the gameplay that I did see, it was more linear though. Like it kind of seemed like you could. I mean, it's been a long time since I actually reviewed the footage, but it was very much like, do a mission, do a mission, do a mission. And they were all like missions in linear order inside of a city. And if memory serves and it may not, you could kind of like wander off and do little side things, but it wasn't like go explore, all of Tamriel or all of High Rock and, do whatever you want and maybe do the main story or maybe not, which is kind of why I'm raising an eyebrow to that Amazon description.
Right.
But that's it. That's Oblivion PSP. Very unfortunate canceled project that I would have been all over as a kid.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is like, it looks mostly done. I can't believe this was canceled. Like, I would have, like you say, I didn't have a PSP, but this, if I knew that this existed, I can't believe this is the first time I've ever hearing this. But if I knew this was out there, I feel like I would have like been saving up my money or and like pressuring my parents to get me a PSP just for this. Like it looks done pretty well. It's crazy.
It's really sad when something is like playable like this, you know, and it like they're effectively beta builds. Like it's not an alpha. It's not like totally jank. Yeah, there's crashes and stuff, but it's just sort of like, hey, we have done minimal testing on this stuff. So it's like, man, just a little more polish. However, I wonder if there wasn't as many levels made. Like, I wonder if a lot of the levels were almost done, but they were still like, yo, we still got like, you know, two to three levels, which is, you know, like 20-ish% of the game. And then we still got to test, and then we still got to like put this thing out. And it was sort of like, all right, like, let's just not do that.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
Oh, awesome. Fascinating, Matt.
Thank you.
Speaking of Elder Scrolls, though, our first story for the week is about the upcoming, I guess, rumored, but also I don't like saying confirmed on these things because it's never confirmed unless the official, you know, source says it's confirmed. Right?
As confirmed as possible without an actual confirmation.
Yeah. So the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake. Now this is from Forbes. They say is real. The new images look spectacular. There seems to be some confusion about whether reports are real that Microsoft is about to shadow drop what should be a high-profile Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake next week. Yes, it's real. You may not believe one source, but how about 5 or 6? And from highly reputable sources and outlets, well, that's where we are now. The list of confirmations is now Nate the Hate, Jeff Grubb, Jez Corden, VGC, and literally Microsoft support chat, apparently. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Did someone send that in the chat?
I think you did, Matt. Was it you or was it me?
I think it was you, Tim, actually.
Yeah. So, like, for those that don't know, if you've been keeping up with the Oblivion rumors, there were some people on they were talking to the Microsoft support account on Twitter, which that account uses an AI chatbot to like automatically reply to people. And what had happened was, so this is posted by Tom Warren on Twitter, who said, reposted by Tom Warren, originally posted by Sir Raven 18. But there were screenshots of somebody trying to talk to this chatbot and, Xbox support. And they asked it, I wonder if the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster will be available to play on cloud gaming, to which the bot replied, thank you for your reply. Yes, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered will be available for cloud gaming. It is set to be released on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One. Additionally, it will be accessible through Xbox Game Pass, which supports cloud gaming, allowing you to play anywhere with a compatible device and internet connection. For more details, please check this link. And then they followed up asking the bot again. They said, when will this be available to play on cloud gaming? Earlier, I was told the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered would be available for cloud gaming. And about 25 minutes later, the bot responded saying the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is set to be released on April 21st, 2025. So obviously like huge grain of salt because it's like an AI chatbot and it could be fed off of information that like it was just getting that off of, you know, Twitter or whatever, or anywhere on the internet. But it is crazy that the official Xbox support account was the one saying that.
I think, Matt, you first brought up this point about how do we know when these AI bots refresh and that they don't get their information from what's been reported and whether it's the information that is actually out there, you know?
But that's like in this like leak or whatever you want to call it, defense, like I don't know if those specific dates were leaked prominently. Now bots are very good at going into the nooks and crannies and finding things. So it's possible that like someone was talking about it on a forum and then it took that to mean, yo, that's the answer. But I mean, this is one piece of evidence in a series of pieces of evidence, right?
Yeah.
To build like a really strong circumstantial case.
Most recently, Eurogamer, probably the biggest name so far, which has come out to say that this about a recent gallery of leaked images from the game. Quote, Eurogamer has corroborated that these files, and there are more here collected on Imgur or Imager. What is that?
Imgur, I believe.
Imgur are currently being hosted on virtuous servers for now. End quote. Those pictures are more than the ones we've seen previously. And along with this, I guess, update, it's not just a graphics overhaul. I guess it is also a quality of life updates.
Mhm.
It is using the Unreal Engine 5. What are they on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
UE5, yep.
And so some of the changes that the people have noted is the HUD meant to be easier to understand for new players. Stamina meant to be less frustrating and for players to be knocked down less when it's depleted. Hit reactions meant to improve combat on both the player and enemy side. Blocking meant to be inspired by Souls-like games. Not sure what that means, but all right.
I think like
sneaking-
using a shield and you can like parry attacks and stuff and block.
You couldn't do that in the original?
You could block, but there was no like real feedback from blocking unless
Just clank.
unless your block skill was high enough that the enemy's attack would literally bounce off the shield. But it wasn't until Skyrim that they had the like shield bash ability, which I think you had to unlock through the block skill tree. So allegedly that would make it more action oriented, where you can try to like block or parry enemy attacks just from the get-go.
And then sneaking meant to have sneak icons more highlighted. Archery meant to make it, quote, modern for third and first person play. Stealth Archer, here we come.
I had a question of that,
That's from
though.
Forbes.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't recall archery being all that terrible. I've never played in third person, but like first person just felt like you just aim and shoot. I never
Yeah.
really recall it being terrible.
I don't think archery was really possible in third person in Oblivion, if I'm remembering correctly. Because
Oh, okay.
you were in the center of the screen and the crosshair would be like over your character. I don't think it was it wasn't exactly like an over the shoulder perspective, right?
No, for sure. Yeah, you were just dead center. Because I know that like something like a Morrowind was like very not modern archery.
Morrowind's
God.
archery was terrible because you would have to physically hit them with the arrow and then it would roll dice to see if that arrow even did any damage.
Yeah, that's
You,
atrocious.
You recently played Morrowind, right? Sometime over the pandemic, was it?
Me, yeah, yep. Well, Tim
How-
and I did
how-
as well. We played online with a
We,
mod.
we tried to do the Elder Scrolls 3
That's wild.
multiplayer mod, yeah.
How
Which was
it?
like it was cool, but again, it was one of those things where it's like Matt knows that game top to bottom, and I don't know it at all. So it was really just me kind of like following Matt around everywhere, and it's like, okay, now we got to go here and do this thing, blah, blah, blah. And you go into the cities, and it's a ton of buildings, and there's no NPCs anywhere, so it feels totally dead. And Matt's like, oh yeah, we got to go to this building. This is the shop, and I'm like, how the hell do you know this is the shop? It doesn't look like anything. And he's like, yeah, we just got to go in and we talk to this guy, and then we'll ask him about this specific thing, which triggers this dialogue option. And I'm like, oh my god, like it's
I grew
crazy
up
you
in those
remember all this
streets.
stuff. These are the mean streets I come from, and it's literally just a screenshot of friggin' Morrowind.
Just say it in.
Now, obviously, Oblivion is like the big popular Elder Scrolls game, right?
I don't think
But doesn't-
so. I think that's Skyrim.
Yes, but I mean, if you were to remake one, obviously Skyrim has been brought up to the current gen consoles. You can still play it on a PS5 and Xbox Series
Yeah.
X and S. Oblivion is the one like the hardcore fans of Elder Scrolls kind of like, right? But do you think there would be any value? And I know the original Elder Scrolls are weird, like they're not typical what we think of as modern Elder Scrolls. But
Like you mean Daggerfall and Arena? Specifically?
yeah, but don't you kind of wish they would remake like the older games rather than one that is still playable on an Xbox Series X through back compat? But
No, because specifically with Daggerfall, I've actually watched quite a bit of content on Daggerfall, and mostly people play with the Unity mod, which ports the game to Unity, and then you play, and it has like a bunch of improvements graphically, less crashes, things along those lines. The issue with those old games is that they're something different than what we play today. Those games were meant to, and I can't speak to Arena, but I believe it's the same. But Daggerfall was meant to emulate a D&D session. So like D&D, unless you're following the book like directly, it's endless. And so those games are obviously not endless, but there's a heck of a lot to do and there's a lot of space. However, it was in an era where it was cool to just be able to do that on a computer. Today, if we just had like procedurally generated like hills, more hills with trees, more hills with trees, more hills with trees, it doesn't really work. And so when you go back to play it, yes, I know you use like the Unity, or most people use that Unity mod, but when you go back to play that, there's like that patina of age and you're aware of where you're at. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, I'm playing an old game. This is a different time. But if a game like that was released today, that's just not what we play anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Is there any story to those games?
I believe Daggerfall had a story. Yeah, I'm almost certain.
So couldn't they just take that core story and just make it like a modern Elder Scrolls kind of game? I'm not saying remaster, or in this case, like heavily remaster, if you want to call it a remake. You know, I'm saying actually make a brand new game, but using the story of it.
I don't think the story is good enough to go back to.
Yeah, like we're talking like a fantasy game from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like the bar was, compared to modern day standards, pretty much on the floor. It's like, you are the destined hero who saves the world from bad guy.
Yeah.
Like it's not exactly nuanced, right? Go around to these towns and help the townsfolk fight off goblins.
I think the thing what it might just be like a, what do you call it? What do you call it when you have to do something like over and over again? And you like it's like just something
Tedious?
built into you.
Redundant?
No.
Repetition?
Inherent.
No, it's like
Jackal.
What's it called? When you have you have to keep checking that the oven is turned off, or you know, you leave your house and you have to check that the door is locked.
Like
What's
a force of
called?
habit?
No.
Oh, OCD?
Paranoia.
OCD. Thank you. I think it's just my OCD that I kind of want them to start from the beginning. I don't like that they remake the fourth game in the series, right? I want them to remake the first game in the series, and then the second game, and then the third, then the fourth.
That's not OCD.
Well, it's like it's just a mind thing.
That's more like an autistic thing than OCD, I would say. But I know what you mean though. Like it's you almost view it as like an entire remake project. Like if you're gonna remake the Elder Scrolls, not like a game, but the Elder Scrolls as an IP, then you start from the start.
Right. Who else did that? Oh, Metal Gear. They're starting with the third game.
Third one, yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. Again, it's a business. They're going to go to the games that are actually going to sell.
Yeah.
You know, however, I do think a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, because that game is chunky. That's not a good game to play in 2025, you know?
That being said, though, if you're going to go back and play like a PS1 game, that game looks insane for a PS1.
It's nice, yeah.
It is crazy how good that game looks
mm-hmm.
for that era.
But Metal Gear Solid 3, and that got remastered, so there are remastered versions of it already. It's like that game plays like a modern game, really.
Yeah.
But that first game does not at all.
Well, Elder Scrolls 3, which is Morrowind, I think that could do with a remake. Like, I would definitely play that again, I think, if it came out. Because, like, part of the issue with Elder Scrolls 3 is that issue is in the age. Like, if you don't like the age of it, and all the things that come along with that, is that it's like one of the first, if not the first RPG where they were kind of laying the groundwork of like, hey, we're getting away from the tabletop idea, but obviously we've come from the tabletop idea.
Yeah.
So therefore, like, it's going to be heavily influenced just naturally by the fact that I would assume many of the people that worked on Morrowind worked on Daggerfall. And so like you still have that baked in. So for example, like, and you can still do this in a modern game, but many modern games don't do this. Like many modern games, they try to, and Skyrim is one of them, they try to ramp you into things. So you are like appropriately leveled to do, you know, that task. And yeah, there's like the meme of like, hey, you went and did a bunch of side content and now you're over leveled for the story. That's just because the story is kind of like a set linear path. But those side missions weren't necessarily easy. So like, and Bethesda games, especially now, they like ramp up to you, right? Like if you're level 10, everyone's like 10 or 11, maybe 12 if they're like a boss around you. And if you go to level 50, now everyone around you is level 50, maybe 52 if they're a boss kind of thing around that, around there. Morrowind, if you walk into a room and someone's above you, like they're gonna fucking kill you. Like it doesn't matter. But Morrowind is also takes some of that tabletop stuff, like I said, and that is like, so for example, it'll just have weapons in that game where it's like, if you are level 1 and you have this weapon, you are a god. You are able to kill everybody. No one's going to stand up to you, heal indefinitely, blah, blah, blah. And I found what I think, and anyway, I'm sure it's subjective, the two best gloves in the game, because each glove is different. It's not a set of gloves, it's each glove. You choose left and right in Morrowind. And I found two sets of gloves, or like a set of gloves left and right in this room, and they were like an amazing like magic item. That's usually what makes these items amazing, is they're like enchanted and they're just amazing. And I walked in this room and I looked around, and I was like, this room looks like it's kind of been tossed. Like there's stuff all over the floor and shit. Like, and I haven't been in here, so it's not like I did it in combat or something. And I was like, what happened in here? And I looked around a few times, whatever, and I left the room, went and completed the story, and I was like, I'm going back to that room. Like something like that room felt weird to me. And sure enough, like just buried in the corner, like just randomly tossed in the corner, I found like a left gauntlet. And then I went to another random corner, it was like under a table, and I found a right gauntlet. And I was like, there's no way these gauntlets do all this stuff, right? And I put it on and I was like, oh my God. And that was it. I was just a god, like basically at that point for armor. And like Morrowind does that, but modern RPGs won't. Like everything seems to be like, oh no, you know, you're level 10, so you get 10 fire damage. You're level 15, you get maybe like 15 or 20 or something like that. There's nothing where it's like, pick that item up. Okay, now everyone's in trouble.
And I think the reason for that is because like that the early days of those, like what we could call like the beginning of the modern RPG was like rooted in secrets. It was finding secrets and it was discovering stuff like that. It was about exploration and discovery. And the reason that we can't necessarily like perfectly recreate that these days is because of the internet. Like we cannot have that sense of discovery anymore because the internet spreads information so widely so quickly. And that was the era of, you know, you, for example, you find those gloves. The only way likely that anyone else that you know near you is going to find them is if you tell them. It was like word of mouth. And that was the whole part of like that sense of community and discovery and like collective like uncovering of the game's secrets, right? And it's not to say that can't be recreated to an extent today. Like there are some things, like I remember just as a sort of like a microcosm of it, when World of Warcraft had their like classic servers come out, and then they were doing specifically the Season of Discovery servers, which is where it was classic like vanilla WoW, but they had a couple of different mechanics and systems, and they had like the rune system, which was where it kind of either gave you unique class abilities or it gave you like a rune where it would take an existing ability and it would change how it worked. So instead of like firing one arrow, it would fire like a spread of arrows. Or if you had like a fireball spell, instead of just casting it at one target, you would throw it on like an AoE on the ground and it would do less damage but over a wider area and stuff like that. And it was this weird sense of like, it's familiar, but it's all different because it's like the solved game from like 20 years ago, but with new mechanics. And I just remember being on that first server for the first like couple of weeks, and people knew that these runes were in the game, but they had no idea how many there were, if all the classes were the same, if there were like what the locations were to even unlock all this stuff. And it was this era again of people like collaboratively trying to like aggregate all this information so that they could figure out like, okay, where is all this stuff so that we can optimize the fun out of the game again. And that is kind of like, I think the way that you have to do it is you just sort of like put that information out there in your game, but also accompany it with no information so that all the players, like the only way that people find anything is by figuring it out yourselves. You know, it reminds me of like Remnant 2, for example. Like there was that class that was in the game that the only way to find it was by data mining the game. Like
Yeah.
the devs knew that people would data mine the game and then they rewarded them for it. And it's just like that was, to me, that was like, this is the games industry in the modern day. Like these are people who understand how people play games now, and they're actively like designing the game around that. Not from a video game design perspective, not from necessarily like a fun perspective, but from a consumption perspective. And that's just like, I think how things kind of have to be done these days, right? Like you have to build the game for the environment in which it's going to be played. And you know, all that to say, like, I don't think that it makes sense necessarily to try to like remake the old games because those games are a product of their time. To make them today doesn't make as much sense because the world's completely different. People play games completely differently. And if they were going to, like you say, like, oh, just take the story, but make it like a modern mechanics and stuff, that's not really like a remake. Like, you're not making the same game. You're just kind of almost taking inspiration from something else or making like a spiritual successor.
Based on true events. Yeah, kind of
May
thing.
or may not have happened in Tamriel.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this too is like, you know, props to Bethesda. And I think I've said this before on the show where like Bethesda really does make their games accessible. Like the first two games, they haven't like ported and stuff, but they have made free and they're, you know, they're meant for DOS and you can use DOSBox. And then of course the community is kind of taken over those. But like Morrowind, like you can stream Morrowind with cloud gaming. Like back in the day, it would be
That's
like
pretty awesome. Yeah.
people would be waiting, like Tim said, like, you know, people had to figure things out, or people would have to buy the guidebook, or you could wait for like a magazine. Like if you were like, oh, I can't wait for, you know, whatever gaming magazine. They said next month they're gonna release some like preview stuff, or they're gonna talk about, you know, are the best like tips and tricks or the best secrets in Morrowind. And so I'll have to get that edition and make sure I find that page and like refer to my game. And it's like, that's how we used to do things back then. And it's kind, and then it like slowly went to GameFAQs and now of course the internet at large. But it's like, you know, props to Bethesda for keeping these games alive. Like, cause I saw somebody say like, I don't want to lose. And to this person's credit, they weren't really complaining too much. They were like, kind of like, I want to play Oblivion, but I you know, I haven't played games in, you know, however many years. I saw this on a Reddit comment. I haven't played games in so many years, and I wouldn't want to play like a remake. Like I want to play the original. And someone came out and was like, you literally can today. Like
just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because the person didn't understand. They're like, yeah, man, like get Game Pass or you can just buy it. And the original Oblivion like runs on Xbox. It runs on Game Cloud or Xbox Cloud. It runs on PC. Like, so props to Bethesda for like keeping those older games alive and seemingly for like an indefinite amount of time, because like, I mean, Morrowind is like pretty freaking old, 2002, 2003. Yeah. And like that, they decided to keep that thing alive. So like
even old Fallouts too.
Yeah. The Fallouts.
They keep releasing those or have them available.
Yeah. And it's like, so for people like that who, you know, maybe played this when they were kids and then they stopped gaming or whatever, and then they want to come back, it's like they can literally play this new Oblivion, or they could just go play the old one and literally have them installed in the same system, console or PC, and play them each one whatever they want. And that's pretty dang cool.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So this is supposed to be dropped, I think, pretty soon, right?
Allegedly Monday, April 21st.
That'll be amazing, but also horrible because Tim, you were just mentioning that you're playing Baldur's Gate.
Yeah,
and you don't want another big RPG dropped on you. I'm playing several games on the go right now, and it's just like they're all stacking up now, and it's getting horrible. My gosh.
I mean, I'm never going to complain about like one of my favorite games, like literally in my top 3 games of all time, being like remade. Not only because like I've talked many times on the show before about the Sky Oblivion remake. You know, I'm not going to complain about more ways to play Oblivion in 2025. It's just like, again, the April 21st date is extremely like huge asterisk next to it. Literally nothing has been said about a release date. All we have so far that's like seemingly official is screenshots of these remade locations and assets in Unreal Engine 5 from the Virtuoso website. But there's nothing said about a date. But I was just saying, like, man, if I come back after this weekend, like, because we're driving around a bunch to visit family and stuff, if I come back and it's Monday and we get this like shadow drop where Microsoft's just like, okay, here you go. You've all heard about it by now. Just fucking take it, you bastards. Yeah. And it's an Oblivion remake. I'm getting like, man, I've just started another Baldur's Gate playthrough because of patch 8 and trying to like get all like, geared up for that. And it's like, I'm going to have to drop it. I'm going to have to. Like, if there's an official Oblivion remake on Monday, I have to play it.
Of course, yeah.
So,
are you guys just going to play?
Go ahead.
What's that, Matt?
I was going to say, are you guys going to play the Game Pass, or are you guys going to try to get? There's like some sort of deluxe edition I saw.
Is that also rumored? But how do we know about a deluxe edition?
It came out. It was one of the images. One of the marketing images had like there's 2 editions, and then like it showed that there was like an armor or something in the deluxe edition, in the same like image set of this.
Oh, weird.
With the games like Avowed and Indiana Jones and South of Midnight, you can download the base game and then upgrade to the deluxe edition for like $18 or $20 or whatever it is. I actually did that for Avowed. And so I'll probably do that for Oblivion if there is a deluxe edition, and it's stuff I want, right? I'm not just gonna do it or whatever.
Yeah, like I'm gonna take a look and see what is in there. Like I'm looking right now to try to find that image that I saw, and I can't seem to find it. I just keep seeing the same
Horse armor. Is it gonna be the horse armor?
That would be awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I know it was like people armor. I don't know, humanoid armor. Whatever you want to call it in a fantasy game. But I know for sure that there was like a version that had different stuff in it in one of the, because people are afraid to upload these screenshots because one of the journalists said we don't want to upload these screenshots. We'll only embed them because Microsoft may like put the hammer down and be like, yo, you can't put that on your site.
Although that's weird. Microsoft doesn't have the right to dictate that, right? Or
well
I guess is this stolen?
Right?
Is this stolen art? Yeah.
Well, I don't know the law, but I would imagine it's stolen.
Yeah. I would actually love it if they kept the horse armor as a for sale thing. I think that'd be hilarious.
And it has to be the same price. It has to be like the $6 or whatever it was back in the day.
Yeah.
That would be really funny if they're like, yes, we've got purchasable horse armor.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, hey, you motherfuckers!
And from what I heard, the Sky Oblivion guys were okay with this, right?
Yep.
They were less angry than the Fallout London guys.
Oh God, yeah, like far and away. It's like not even a comparison. I think his name's Kyle Rebel. He's like the lead. He's like the project lead for Sky Oblivion because at this point it is quite literally like an actual like games production company, basically. I believe there were a number of people that have been excited for and following the Sky Oblivion project for like a literal decade at this point, and we're saying like, oh man, with all this official like Oblivion remake stuff, he's gonna be so like, I feel so bad for them that they've spent 13 years putting all of their not for profit like volunteer time. Like a lot of these people are just regular people that work 9 to 5s and they spend their free time making this remake project or this mod project, and now they're just going to get like upstaged by an official re-release. But he's super chill about it. He's like, I'm never going to complain it. Like he, echoing sort of the sentiment I said before, I believe he said something along the lines of like, I'm never going to complain about more Oblivion being out there.
Yeah.
Well, one question I have about that is Sky Oblivion. So because I know Fallout London launches with its own launcher. Is Sky Oblivion going to be like, I take my Skyrim character over? I think we talked about this before, but I can't remember. I feel like the answer was no.
No, it's as far as I'm aware, it's a complete like what do you call like a mod pack basically. So I think you need like a fresh install of Skyrim. I would imagine probably a fresh install of Skyrim, and then you're downloading the mod pack whole project thing. That's probably going to have its own installer and everything because it's a complete overhaul mod. Like it overhauls the leveling, it overhauls all the UI, it overhauls the locations, it gives you all new armors and spells and stuff. Like they're touching every part of the game, right?
Yeah, I guess that would make sense because like the leveling wouldn't be cross compatible like at all.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be mod friendly in the sense that like if somebody has like a particular weapon or armor set or has something that they like that they like for their personal copy of Oblivion or of Skyrim, that as long as it doesn't change files and just adds like items to the game, I'm sure it will be compatible. But that'll of course depend on like how they compile everything in the Sky Oblivion mod project, right?
Yeah.
Like if they fundamentally changed how like some files are loaded, then I'm not a modder, so I don't really know how the insides, of the whole scene. But I would imagine there's probably something like that to it.
Might be high time to get like the GOG version, so I can have like a separate version installed if I care. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I think.
God, I almost died.
You almost died.
Choking on my own saliva.
Oh Jesus!
And yet you lived.
Ooh-wee. Okay. Speaking of Microsoft, though, Microsoft has confirmed. Oh God,
you got this.
Confirmed that they are having an Xbox Games Showcase for June 2025, and then they always do like this after showcase thing where they highlight a single game. This year it is Outer Worlds 2. This article is from IGN. Microsoft says solidifies plans for June, confirming an Xbox Game Showcase 2025, as well as the Outer Worlds Direct 2. Microsoft normally hosts a June showcase to reveal upcoming Xbox games. and 2025 is no different. It will be live streamed on Sunday, June 8th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. It will look at upcoming titles from across Microsoft's first-party studios, in addition to incredible new titles from their third-party partners across the globe. Now, I was kind of thinking about this. So many Xbox games just launched, so it kind of feels like they have a lot new that they could announce, right? But there are some things that we already know about that we might get updates on. Things like Fable, which got delayed. Right. And have we actually seen like solid gameplay of that yet, or has it all just kind of been cinematics and?
There was a showcase, I think.
Was there actual gameplay,
did we see gameplay? I don't recall. Not fully, at least.
I thought somebody had said. I watch a lot of video essays right now, so like maybe I'm getting it confused, but I thought somebody had said that we had like a first look at gameplay in some sort of like YouTube showcase.
Yeah, IGN has it on their channel. They've got pre-alpha footage gameplay wise. So it shows some locations running an engine. It shows like there's a quick shot of her walking through the city, which looks huge, the forest, which is cool, riding a horse, walking up to a cave entrance, fighting a cockatrice thing, like a giant chicken dragon thing, fighting some hobs, fighting a giant guy, fighting a werewolf maybe, putting down a bear trap while somebody with a frying pan walks up and puts sausages on it. That's very strange. Yeah.
But that's been delayed till 2026. That is a long time from now. They announced it too soon. They showed it off too soon.
This is, this was uploaded a month ago and like, oh, you can kick a chicken. This is like, it looks early. It looks very early. Aside from like the locations, like the environments look pretty, but the gameplay itself looks very unpolished. It looks very in development.
We could also see the Perfect Dark reboot, which we have seen a couple trailers for.
I'd be down for that. That sounds pretty good.
Yep.
Now, what makes you excited about that series, Matt?
I played a lot of the original one, not the campaign, but the N64 version on multiplayer, which was kind of what its claim to fame was. And I don't mean multiplayer online either. I mean like couch co-op, playing 4 players.
Local force player split screen, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe controversial take, but I think that Perfect Dark's multiplayer is the superior local multiplayer game to play on the N64 over GoldenEye. GoldenEye, if you go back and try to play GoldenEye's multiplayer, it's pretty trash. That's my hot take.
I agree with that. Whoa. Actually, I liked GoldenEye's campaign.
Whoa. Yes, campaign is good.
Yeah, and then multiplayer, I would say, is like it was great because it was there at that time. If that makes sense, like it kind of didn't age well.
No, it's that classic story of like it's very well known that was a last minute addition to that game. They finished up before the release date, and they were like, "What else can we do with this game?" So the devs just started to fool around and made a multiplayer mode, and then it turns out it was like the best thing that they could have done for it. But yeah, Perfect Darks was the same thing but better.
Yeah. And then like Perfect Dark Zero, I know some people hate that game, but I played the crap out of it. It was a 360 launch title, and I absolutely demolished that game. I remember so back then it wasn't like you would match make and then you would get like put into a match and the match would end necessarily. That could happen, but you could set your own parameters. So I joined, I used to like sniping back then. So I joined a sniper server and I was in that sniper server all day. Like there wasn't any rounds. There wasn't any whatever. I had like well over 100 kills and I was just wandering around the desert, just sniping people randomly. And like the whole lobby would like shift, right? Like people would come and go and like people would like leave and come back. And I was just in there the whole freaking day. So I have fond memories of that. And I played the campaign, and the campaign, I didn't understand what the hell was going on. But the campaign I thought was awesome at the time, like going from first person to third person, dual wielding, being able to control like, oh, I'm going to put silencers on both these guns and stuff. Like, just stuff that like maybe I haven't played it in a long time, so maybe it didn't age well, but I friggin' love that game. So like a modern version, like in the reboot, sounds pretty good to me.
In Exile's Clockwork Revolution. Now I didn't remember what this was, but looking at it, it looks like a BioShock Infinite like kind of game, heavily influenced or maybe borderline ripoff. I don't know. I don't know where to fall on that one. You guys remember this one at all?
No, not at all. No.
We also got Ninja Gaiden 4.
Mm-hmm.
Contraband. What was Contraband?
From the devs of the Just Cause series.
Was it?
That's what it says.
Oh, this game. We just got like a little cinematic of like someone's like I don't know, Workshop playing some Steely Dan. I wonder if any other game trailer has ever used a Steely Dan song. That might be a first.
I do have a bit of a. This is right from Avalanche Studios website. There's just a really short sentence written here. It says, "A co-op smuggler's paradise. Welcome to Contraband, a co-op smuggler's paradise set in the fictional world of 1970s Bayonne." Hopefully, I said that correctly. Brought to you by Avalanche Studios and Xbox Game Studios, and it says it's exclusive to Xbox Series X, S, and X consoles, coming to Xbox Game Pass, Steam, and Windows 10 PC.
Rare's got a new game coming out, Everwild. This is the first time I'm hearing of it, actually. Maybe I just kind of forgot about it, but it's like a kind of a uniquely animated game. I guess Sea of Thieves was their last game, right?
I believe so. Well, because it's also been like really changed over the years.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing like maybe, obviously I guess it is games as a service, right? They got like battle passes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like that kind of takes like an entire team's worth of developers to pump out that kind of content all the time. So maybe they finally have time to make a new game here. But yeah, I don't actually remember seeing this trailer ever before.
I'm looking at the Xbox.com entry for it, like it's on their webpage, and a couple of the screenshots look kind of familiar. I mean, it was probably something that I would imagine we didn't see much of, and so I probably forgot about it. And
this.
I mean, it even says here, it's just like, again, it's like one sentence: introducing Everwild, a brand new IP from Rare, unique and unforgettable experiences await in a natural and magical world.
So it was from the Xbox Games Showcase in July from 4 years ago.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't
my
that kind of
God.
wild? That's Everwild, really.
Damn it.
Collision's Gears of War E-Day. Remember that one?
Hell yeah, dude.
You're pretty excited for that one, right, Matt? Because you wanted to see kind of, what was it, like the before times or like the start of the war? Or
because everything, like the architecture looks so grand in Gears of War that I'm like, man, like to see this when it wasn't completely freaking destroyed would be awesome. And like, I mean, we're going to see the beginning of the destruction, but we'll probably get some fresh environments that will be freshly destroyed. I'm sure like shortly after seeing it, but at least I get to see it.
Yeah. How much longer do you think Gears has as a franchise before they need to either like reboot it or I don't know, change it up a bit, eh?
Just keep doing a reboot every 15 years. Because the first Gears is not that old. It's only 2006, which I know is almost 20 years ago, but
that's right in that sweet spot era, though.
Yeah.
Man, we
Space Marine
millennials
2,
lived
though.
through a pretty good time.
Space Marine 2 is like kind of like heralded and also criticized for being like a 360 game. And then, but a lot of people were like, yeah, like this is kind of refreshing. So I kind of wonder if Gears games are spaced out just enough. They're also on Game Pass where it's like, hey, we could play this co-op. It's pretty easy to come and go and like
just give it a try.
Yeah, it is. There are big jumps between them. At least it feels like that. Like, was it the Xbox One that had the last Gears game and like somewhat near launchish?
Gears 5 was the last one, I think.
Yeah,
and Gears 4 is on Xbox One as well, I believe.
Gears 4,
Gears 4,
both
yeah.
Xbox Ones.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
because those are the ones with Kate, I think.
Yeah, I remember playing
right.
that on my I didn't have an Xbox One, and I was like, I wish I could play Gears 4, but I can't because I'm not going to buy an Xbox One. And then it came out on like Xbox on PC or whatever. I can't remember what they called it at the time, but then I was like, all right, I guess I can play Gears 4, and I played it on PC, and I played the crap out of it on my old laptop between classes at the time when I was going to college.
Hideo Kojima's OD. That's the one he's working on. That's like the horror game he's working on with
Jordan Peele, right?
Jordan Peele. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we know very little about that. All they showed us was like people screaming at the at the camera or whatever they were doing. Their performance capture.
At the camera.
Yeah, they're getting tortured.
Oh my God, Jesus.
This is another one they announced kind of early. State of Decay 3.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Forgot about that entirely.
Why they announced that so early, I don't know. But yeah, that's a long one off. I don't even know if is there a release date?
No, I don't think so.
They showed it was like a CG trailer, right? For that, like, how long ago was that now? Like 3 years ago? 4 years
Something
ago?
like that. Yeah.
It was definitely during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was when we were playing State of Decay 2. It was like around that time because I remember we kept bringing it up. So whether it was shortly before that or during it, you know what's kind of interesting though. I don't know if you guys have like any insights on this, but like State of Decay 2, I'm not a game developer, but it wasn't like super groundbreaking or revolutionary. And I'm kind of wondering whether they're going to try to take the formula of State of Decay 2 and blow it up, because there's like a lot of mechanics in 2 that could be made a lot more sophisticated. Like for example, like you set up a base and stuff, like maybe the base is going to be like kind of difficult to manage, or maybe it's going to be like a little more, I want to say games as a servicey. I don't know if I want to say that, but maybe it'll be like you actually have like one solid base, and then you make like forward operating bases on the maps and stuff. Like, would you want to see State of Decay become more management a little bit? Because it's like it's management light, and then it's action game light, and so the game is just sort of like zombie game with some management.
I didn't mind State of Decay 2, how it was set up.
I liked it. Yeah,
I want more of that. I kind of want maybe more vehicle variety. I think the management of like your stuff could have been a little bit better, and like the management of your base could have been a little more seamless. I remember like just not being able to figure out, how to get supplies or stuff from your base and whatnot. I don't know, just like kind of like quality of life stuff would need to be updated for me. Yeah.
I'd say about the same. Like Tim, did you like the management, or did you prefer just like running around?
At first I didn't like it because I'm not huge in like management sims and stuff, but I think in that game it was light enough that I was like chill with it.
It was more of like a motivation to go out and play rather than it being like our like iron production isn't enough.
Yeah, and like because I'm like a big RPG player and I'm used to games where like when you've made progress you have it forever kind of thing. And with State of Decay it was like you could invest a ton of like resources and gear and skill training into these characters, but if they go out and die, they're dead. And it's like at first I was like, this fucking sucks. Like I don't want to, from my mind, literally have wasted my time putting all this effort into a character that then if I just happen to make a mistake and that character dies, they're gone forever. I was like, that's enough to make me just like put the game down and never pick it up again. But then when you realize that it's like, you're not putting that much effort into them, and the resources you can find them frequently enough that it's like, even if you do, it's pretty hard to have a character die. And even if they do die, you're not really going back to square one because you probably used them to acquire like a lot of extra gear and you were training up other people sort of in the interim back at the camp. So it's like by the time the character you're actively playing dies, it's like, oh, damn, that really sucks. He had a good gun. Oh, well, I've got these other 3 guys in retainer that are just as good, if not better. So
I can't remember. Did the other characters remember when your character died? I think they did, right? Like if it was like, oh, Matt's dead, and you go back to base and they're like, man, I miss Matt, kind of thing.
That would be cool. I don't recall that, but maybe I just didn't have enough characters die to see that.
I can't remember if that was State of Decay 1, 2, or it was definitely in this War of Mine. So I might be confusing it with that.
Oh man, Matt, this is just like a side note here, but I'm looking at that image you or that link you sent of the Oblivion like deluxe edition and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just totally real then, eh?
Yeah,
like this is just an actual promotional shot for the deluxe edition.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That is the shot actually. That and the other one where it's sort of like the guy standing under the Oblivion gate. Those two, I was like, those are promotional images. Like this isn't like, concept art or something. So it's like this is like cooked. Like this is ready, right? Like this is
this is so hilarious. Tiny. How the heck can you even freaking see this?
I zoomed in on the browser.
It's
I can't read anything, but you can see it.
Yeah, it's
there
very
is horse
much
armor in the deluxe edition.
I mean, if that is the cover art, honestly, that does kind of go fucking hard. That's awesome. I might even like that better than the original cover art for Oblivion.
It's pretty fucking cool. I might do the upgrade to deluxe. I don't know if I'll buy a physical, but I'd like to do the upgrade to deluxe.
So for the audio listeners at home, there is actually pictures on this promotional art for horse armor.
Yeah.
It's not the Elven and Steel. It looks like Daedric and Orcish, maybe. The art style to me looks very like for these like images and stuff, these promotional images. It looks very Elder Scrolls Blades to me.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And that might just be because this image that we have is extremely low resolution. Not that Blades necessarily looks bad. It just has a very almost like cartoony art style to it. From the screenshots that we've seen of the Oblivion remake in Unreal Engine 5, it looks a lot higher fidelity than this.
Yeah.
A little more like pseudo realistic, but I don't know. Maybe it's just like maybe I'm just getting it confused with the overall like Elder Scrolls branding right now. But
Well,
it seems like there's horse armor. It seems like there's maybe concept art is maybe the one that's on the bottom there on the left.
Yeah, it'd probably be
Uh,
like a digital art book or something.
yeah, and then we have weapon packs and maybe some armor sets. But I wonder what those weapon packs would be. Maybe they're like alternate skins for a particular type of weapon. Because it's not like you would upgrade weapons in Oblivion. Like it was just if you had a steel sword, it was a steel sword. If you had
Yeah.
an orcish axe, it was an orcish axe. Like unless they're like reworking the weapon system and adding different weapon types and adding more, not just like weapon types, but weapon what would you even call them? Like materials, I guess. Make it more in line with Skyrim to have more variety.
What's interesting about this too is like, because I was thinking kind of the same thing, Tim, where like maybe there's like a character in the game where it's like, oh, we'll like jazz up your weapons, and if you give it to them, they like put the skin on it or something
I was
lore
gonna
friendly.
say, yeah, what if it's like just a transmog?
But what's interesting is, so there's two images side by side, and there's like a white bar in between for the listeners out there. What's interesting is they're both for Xbox, like Xbox Series X. It kind of looks like one of the one. And what's interesting is though is there's like different benefits. It kind of looks like, because it looks like there's weapons, some people, which I assume is armor, horse armor, and then some concept art. But then on the right one, there's a different set of armor. There's a different set of weapons, or maybe like there's two types on weapons on in the first one. So maybe this is like just showing one of them for preview sake. Then there's one set of horse armor instead of two from the previous. There's no concept art, and then there's two people underneath. There's like another benefit at the bottom. So I'm not sure what that is. But now here's the thing though, is I've noticed this is RP, so rating pending. Is this gonna is the date completely off? Is this like a holiday release? They're gonna show it off at June and then be like, oh, you come get it. And here's the thing. Is that thing at the bottom of this promo art pre-order bonus? So is it pre-order and then also deluxe edition bonuses?
Yeah, surely there's no way, right? In the modern era that they just drop a full release, they don't let people pre-order it. That would be crazy.
It's weird that everyone keeps saying it's Shadow.
Yeah.
It makes sense if it was just a texture upgrade though. Like that does truly make sense, but it kind of isn't that from what we've seen.
It's not the industry today.
No. And they know that they're going to get people pre-ordering it. Like, I mean, heck, even the new generation. I mean, like what? People who were, born in 2006, what are they now?
Almost 20, 19.
Yeah. So like
the one thing is like this could be a old piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they did update the rating. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing.
It's just a possibility, but unlikely, I think.
These images are from a WordPress site. It's entirely possible someone was like, yo, we got to get ready. Take everything from folder one and just upload it and we'll use what we need. That's totally possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So at this Xbox showcase, other things we might see, obviously, in regards to Activision, Call of Duty. We'll see what the next Call of Duty is. I was gonna say that seems pretty quick, but this is in June, right? Because it does feel like Black Ops is fairly new. Maybe me and Matt are still playing it and stuff. But yeah, it won't be till June until they announce like the next one. I think it's funny that like Call of Duty seems to take like a backseat now, where before it used to be like the prime, or maybe they showed it at the start of the conference. I don't know, but the fact that they don't have like a special Call of Duty presentation after the conference, I think Call of Duty just might be an institution now, where it's just like people just play it. You don't really have to sell it anymore.
Well, what was interesting was COD World War II felt like a reboot. And it had its own special presentation. I don't know if you remember that, Ryan, where they brought
boots on the ground.
In.
Boots on the ground.
Well, it was also World War II.
Isn't that what they kept saying?
It is what they
wanted to give you that boots on the ground like feel or something like that.
Something like that. But they brought the actors in, like they had like real actors stand in for the squad in the campaign. Like the campaign was like a big selling point. And I know that it wasn't an actual reboot, but it felt like a reboot. Like they had loot boxes, but they had that cool like you were at the D-Day landing, where it was like it had been captured by the Allies, and you're in there. You're not screaming Omaha.
I was screaming Omaha.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't take me to that Xbox event where they're showing off like World War II and I'll be screaming Omaha.
Get this guy out of here. Fucking day one patch media, your passes are revoked.
Which is funny too, because I'm referencing a Sony commercial.
Oh man. Even worse. Yeah, really get this guy out of here.
Bethesda, I mean obviously Elder Scrolls, maybe we will learn more about it there. I don't know, but Starfield could come to PS5. It's a possibility.
It's also supposed to get another DLC.
That'd be the perfect time to launch it on PS5, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Could we get a look at Elder Scrolls 6, or is that too soon after the remake of Oblivion?
You think they're going to do like a show off Oblivion remake and then also Elder Scrolls 6? Or would that be too much?
I think that, well,
They could do
maybe
it.
unless
They could
it's
do
like Elder Scrolls 6 is 3 years away or 2 years away, but to hold you over, here's Oblivion remastered.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. And
I-
Skyrim again on the Switch too, baby.
Fuck. I have a question about this. So, like, obviously they released the Elder Scrolls 6 title card or whatever it is, and then things have been blowing up about it ever since. I kind of feel like they kind of effed up in this way where they thought they were just like, hey guys, we're working on it. Stop bugging us. I think Tim said this in the past where then now everybody's bugging them. Like, now we know it exists. Like, when is it and stuff?
I think they said that they regret announcing it, so people would, because that's all they ask them about. Every journalist who probably talks to them asks them like, when's it coming?
So, like, my question is for you guys is like, would you want to see this thing, like, see like gameplay or in engine or whatever early? Like, for me, I think they need to go back and say, no, the next time we're showing Elder Scrolls 6 is when it's like a year at most out.
Well, I mean, you always talked about how Bethesda usually in the past would like announce something and then it would come out like a few months later or whatever
That's
the
right.
time scale was.
Yep.
I that's hard to do, I think, nowadays. Like there's so many games get delayed, right? Now, obviously, Elder Scrolls 6, it wasn't even in like it was past the horizon for them. They weren't even like starting anything on it. They just announced it, right? So that was way too early. But I think everyone wants a short release window and don't want a game to be announced and then wait 8 years for like something to come out. It's pretty
Yeah.
that's pretty horrible.
I think that's pretty straightforward and understood.
Yeah. So stick to what they were doing before.
I was gonna say the only person that wants something released or like shown off early is the press, because instead of getting 5 blog posts, they get like 250.
And all the speculation articles they can write. And
I mean, I don't mind the speculation stuff. Like I like hearing about it because I mean, I'm not a game dev, but if I was a game dev, I would read those because I'd be like, holy fuck, that's a good idea. I'm gonna take that idea and we're gonna put it in the game.
I get a
That
mind
has-
effort.
That has to happen these days, like, for sure. There's so much information out there. It's so, I mean, we have social media, right? For a reason. So people can constantly be interacting. And there's a big overlap between like the tech industry and social media. So of course people are going to go, like devs are going to go out there and they're going to say like, see ideas that people have and go, wait, add that one to the old whiteboard. See what we can do about that.
Sounds like the new DLC. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the person who posted it, like, 7 years ago on some GameFAQs forum can be like, see, I told you guys, see, I was right. They don't even realize that it was because they said it that the devs even thought about it.
Incredible.
Air quotes.
That'd be incredible if you ever got credit. Be like, yeah, I saw it on GameFAQs.
If they put it in the credits, they're like, yeah, this mechanic credit goes to Jim 1841 Millhouse
Yeah.
on GameFAQs.
Severance was a TV show that just ended its second season recently on Apple TV Plus. It's very much a show about mystery, and you're kind of waiting for each episode to learn more and see what happens. And they talk about how like so many people make like theory videos, right, on YouTube and whatnot. And they say like they do read some of it, but as soon as people start like suggesting things too much, they stop reading because they don't want it to influence their own creative vision for what the show should be. And it could even happen subconsciously, right? You consume too much of this stuff, then you just think, oh, I need a new idea for this episode, and then it might just crop into your mind, and then like Inception, you don't even know that it was someone else's idea, So they try to insulate themselves from that.
I suppose like it would depend like on your, I guess, writing style too, because like some people would suffer from writer's block a lot. And I would imagine they would try a bunch of stuff to like get out of whatever writer's block. And so they might, like, some people might want, some people might just like take a break and like back away. Some other people might like dive into like, I don't know, the fanfic or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what like writers would do because I'm not like a fiction writer, but like, I wonder if like it like depends like solely on the writer itself in that way.
All right, well, we'll look forward to the Xbox game showcase. I'm hoping there's a PlayStation one, hoping there's a Ubisoft one. I want E3 back, please. Thank you very much.
No,
Our
no,
final
no
story for the
E3.
week.
It's dead, Ryan. It's dead.
I know it's dead. I know.
It's dead.
But they need the courage to bring it back. God damn it.
Well, you know what? It really pisses me off, and we've talked about this where they're like, "Yeah, it's dead. Fuck yeah!" And then everyone's like, "Man, I miss E3." Well, fuck you fucking wanted it dead, and now it's
You
dead.
don't know what you got until it's gone, Matt. That's
It's
how it
crazy.
works.
That's
life.
two different groups of people, though.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. It's just
well, no, I don't think it is. I mainly like watch IGN like people, and they were all complaining about E3. And I remember like it's the same podcast with the same people I've been listening to. They were complaining about E3, and then when it was over, they're like, "Oh man, I really miss E3," and it's just like Jesus Christ.
what were they complaining about? Like the craziness because it'd be really busy, right, for a couple weeks or a week.
Well,
or
there was a couple things where like they really started making it less. It used to be an industry event. It was a time for the press and the press only to come in and learn about the new products from all these game publishers, right? And then they all go back and report it. It slowly started becoming more and more a fan event. And I remember them complaining about like people cosplaying at this event because it's supposed to be professionals in the press there, not fans of the games who are dressing up, right? And so it slowly stopped being an industry event and started becoming like a celebration, commercial kind of fan event, and which it ended up opening to the public at the very end there, right? And so the press didn't like that. And then on top of that, there was all those emails and contact information that got leaked of the press who go, and that really kind of ticked them off. And on top of that, it's a lot of hard work to cover E3, and I think maybe that just beat them down over the years, where it's a big weekend long. You got to run all over the goddamn place. You got all these stories you're writing up. IGN has like a war room of people who are just constantly writing articles and a lot of planning, and they had a set and interviews, and they had to schedule all these people. It's a big, massive thing, right? And I wonder if it just kind of beat them down, and they all hated it after a while. But now they miss it.
The grass is always greener. The grass is always greener. Where it's like I don't want that busy time, and now it's like, man, the busy time was good. Yeah. These are the good old days.
All right, our final story for the week: Mario Kart World on Nintendo Switch 2 will officially cost $110 in Canada. This is from Mobile Syrup. Yeah. So the new pre-order date for Switch 2 is April 24th, and the Nintendo's also revealed that Mario Kart World will cost $109.99 in Canada. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, like I said before, I feel like the vast majority of people that are gonna get Mario Kart are gonna get it with their console. Like I imagine Nintendo is just gonna be churning out those bundles. Mm-hmm. And like for me, for example, like if I wanted to get a Switch, I'm gonna buy the one with Mario Kart because it doesn't make sense to buy the Switch on its own. Like I'm going to play Mario Kart. I am the demographic for Mario Kart, and I would want it. So it just makes the most sense to do it that way. If I couldn't get the bundle with Mario Kart, if it was a thing where Nintendo's like, oh yeah, like we're not making them anymore, or we're like out of stock, we don't know when we'll have more, then I'd be like, all right, I'm not getting a Switch 2. Like I'm just not doing it right now.
Yeah.
Because like they showed off a lot of hype stuff, but there's not enough there to warrant the cost. And I think a lot of like, and this isn't strictly a Canadian thing. Like this is an international sentiment, like especially in America as well. A lot of American people are like, it's not like the biggest like pain point I think for America is that they're not used to price hikes. Like we've had so many price hikes in Canada. The States is not used to price hikes. Yeah. So they look at a $70 game and they get like $70 US game and they go, oh my God, it's so expensive. And we're just like, ha, 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 ha. We've been paying $90 for a decade. And
then there's Australia too.
And Australia, which has been over $100. I can only imagine Mario Kart in Australia is probably like $150. Like it's insane.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That's a huge ask for one game. And like
and Japan's right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't say that the shipping is the problem. Like there is a conversation to be had about inflation, of course, and the cost of games going up because of the just sheer amount of effort and money that goes into making games now. Like there is validity there. And for something like Mario Kart, where like I'm still playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. Like I'm still playing it. I bought it on the Wii U and I bought it on the Switch, and it's probably like far and away my most played game on the Switch.
We played it at your house when we came over.
Yeah, you got a ton of time in Mario Kart. It's like the party game that people play, aside from like maybe Mario Party. But even then, I don't think people like Mario Party as much as they like Mario Kart.
Especially that last one. I don't hear anything with that last one.
Jamboree apparently is great. If you like Mario
okay.
Party, like you should play Jamboree. But I don't have enough people over frequently enough to justify the cost of playing Jamboree or like
Matt, get in the car. We're going to
Switch
Tim's.
Online.
What?
Yeah, go for it.
Tim Hortons, though. I meant.
What?
Tim Hortons. Wait, Tim Hortons.
But so like all that being said, like there is an argument to be made for like for price increases with inflation and stuff. But at the same time, this is also just blatantly Nintendo being like, we're going to charge an extra $10 for it just because we feel like we can.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like, and it's like, you know what? Hey, if you value your product, if you genuinely think, hey, you know, the industry standards be damned, this is what I view this product's worth at. I think it's worth $109.99 Canadian. Then that's, you know, that's your prerogative to price it there. The problem is that, you know, every other publisher is looking at Nintendo right now and going, let's see how these sales numbers go. Because if people are willing to spend $110 on a Nintendo game, maybe they'll shell out $110 for Call of Duty every year. Like, everybody is watching Nintendo
GTA
right
6.
now. GTA 6 is easily going to be over $100 in Canada. Like, the problem is that they're opening Pandora's box. And it's like, I'm all for Nintendo being like, you know, doing their own thing, but this is like one of those very rare times in the games industry where Nintendo is doing something that is very like it's going to have a ripple effect in the industry, and it's pretty like the consumer loses here. Like it's not pushing the industry forward. It's actively making it less accessible for consumers.
Now, do you think oftentimes, like, I can't remember who said it in the industry, whether it was someone at Xbox or PlayStation, but like Nintendo isn't really a competitor, and it's almost like other kids' toys are competitors with Nintendo, or other things that take away kids' time is a competitor to Nintendo.
They're in their own lane, kind of thing.
And the Switch itself has been hugely successful. Do you think this is just a case of them not having any true competition and are just kind of seeing how far they can push the prices?
It's a weird move because it feels particularly aggressive on Nintendo's part, where traditionally they haven't been. Like you say, like they don't really consider themselves part of the like console war and stuff. Like they don't, at least from like the outside perspective.
Yeah,
they don't seem to be trying to compete with like Xbox and Sony. So it makes you wonder, like, what is the motivation here? Is it just greed?
It's just money, likely.
Is it literally just they're looking at it and they're going, people liked the Switch. It was a breakout success. It is it's industry defining. The Switch 2 will have a lot of eyes on it, a lot of hype. We have a blank check. We can charge whatever we want for this thing and people will still buy it. Like, is that the mentality? Or is it genuinely like they've crunched the numbers and they're like, we don't turn a profit here unless we price it at this? Because I struggle to believe it's costing Nintendo that much to manufacture each individual Switch console. It's pretty well established that consoles are money losses. Like they're loss leaders for these companies.
Has Nintendo ever done that? I know we've heard of like PlayStation doing that and stuff. I don't know if Nintendo's ever sold a console at a loss.
I mean, I would be interested to know what those numbers are.
Because like if they value their games at the same price forever, why would they devalue their console to be below, cost or at par at least?
It also makes you wonder too, right? Like when you look at a PS4, for example, because I'm pretty sure it's the PS4 that is like the famous example. Like they were losing $40 on each PS4 or something like that, but they knew they'd get it back in the games.
I think after selling one game, they would get it back.
They'd get it back, yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at a PS4, it's not just like a games machine. Like it's a Blu-ray player, it's a browser, it's a multimedia player. You can play music, you can play games.
A lot of people use it for Netflix. Yeah,
people use it as a Netflix box. It's even just like a social thing. Like you can just use it to be in a voice chat with your friends. You don't necessarily have to be playing a game. Like it's a device that does a lot of things. When you look at a Switch, what does it do besides play games? You know,
Well, they do have the social features now.
they have, but I'm talking about a Switch, not a Switch 2,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, right.
Like, what does it do other than play Switch games?
Not much.
That's it.
There's a couple of like apps. I think there's like maybe the
YouTube.
Nintendo. Can you browse on the Switch? Yeah, I guess you can. There's a browser on the Switch. But yeah, like at that point, it's like you're charging this much money. Like you value this device this much, but all it does is play its own proprietary games, and then whatever other digital downloads some devs make for it. So when you're looking at it in the conversation of like, what is this? Do we value this thing enough that we are like, no, we're not going to take a loss on this thing. We have to profit even $5 per machine. It's like, but why do you value it so highly? Like, it's not exactly an experience. I would say the experiences that you have with Nintendo gaming hardware is by a wide margin. It's the games. It's how you play the games. It's the form factor with the Joy-Cons. It's the local co-op ability, but it all hinges off the software. So like it makes sense for people to charge a bunch of money for a PS4 because it's a device that has multiple uses, but a Switch doesn't really.
Do you think they're a bit like full of themselves? A little stuck up, a little hoity-toity?
It just makes me wonder, right? Because people look at these situations and they think these decisions are made arbitrarily. And it's like, it's not arbitrary. Like they have had multiple sit down meetings about these price points and about their distribution strategy and the development of these products. Like, it's not arbitrary. People are making, at least from their perspective, they're making informed decisions about this whole process.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, what is the thought process? Where is it stemming from?
You know what? It's gotta be money, because the thing too is like, because Donkey Kong Bonanza also got dinged in this too, right? Like Donkey Kong Bonanza was at the current standard price of $89.99, and now it's $99.99. So like, I feel like they might be doing that thing where they're like, hey, let's push the money up. Let's try to make a little more. Let's see what happens. It's only like, especially since it's almost like a test bed where it's like, we'll charge a lot for Mario Kart World, which will force people to buy the bundle. And then they'll buy Donkey Kong Bonanza, but we'll also sell Mario Kart World for that higher price, potentially to sell more bundles. But we'll have market data, because some people will still buy Mario Kart World separately. So now we'll have market data on a game that is $10 more and a game that is $20 more, and we'll see what happens. And I kind of wonder if that's because they kind of like, I would kind of say this is similar to what they did on mobile, where they made like Mario Run or whatever it was. They made Mario Run, which was very much like, hey, you pay the $10 and then that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then they made Fire Emblem Mobile, and then they're like, okay, this is games as a service, and it's kind of like a test bed where they can see like, oh, which one makes more money and how does it make the money and blah blah blah. So like, this is kind of, to me, this parrots that.
Yeah.
Where it's a test.
Could be.
Do you think they see things like the Steam Deck and think it should be on par with that? Because now they do have an LCD version, but they could argue that theirs is better than that version, right?
You mean a Steam Deck LCD?
Right. Yeah, there's a Steam Deck LCD that's that's $500 Canadian, but the Switch is like $629 Canadian or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So the next version up of the Steam Deck is $690. So that's kind of in the same ballpark as the Switch 2. Like, do you think they're thinking the competition is these other handheld devices, and so their price needs to be competitive, with other handhelds?
But again, look at the offerings of a Steam Deck versus a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is an intrinsic value in getting a Switch 2 in that it is more plug and play than a Steam Deck. Steam Deck is like, I'm going to go and buy anything on Steam. That's not the case. Not everything on Steam is going to work on a Steam Deck. Like, there's a bit of like technical debt there where you have to kind of understand that. There's also like, if I go and buy anything on the eShop, short of the game being buggy as hell, it's going to work on a Switch too. So there is like some intrinsic value there, but I agree. Like, the Steam Deck is much more capable for like people who like to hack things together, but also people who do like an out of box experience, because there is like a very clear, like, this will run on Steam Deck, this will not. There's very clear labeling, and there has been testing done by Valve and whomever else for things like, Cyberpunk. It gets a green check mark. That means it'll run, and it'll run pretty good, right?
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to bring up though is the accessories have also taken a hit.
Yeah.
So Joy-Cons and stuff are going up. So this is from Polygon. This is for the United States. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going up by a couple bucks. Some of it's going up by $5. The big one I would say is probably the Joy-Con 2 pair going up from, again, this is United States. $89.99 was the old price. It is now MSRP $94.99. There's also, again, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but the Nintendo Switch 2 camera, which I bring up just because they've kept pushing the chat stuff. It used to be $49.99, now $54.99. And then let's compare that to Canadian prices. So I don't know if these were increased in Canada, but these are the current MSRP as of April 18th, right from Nintendo.com, but it's the Canadian localized version. So right here we have the Joy-Con 2 pair is $124.99, which is fucked for a controller, basically. Sorry to say, but that's fucking wild.
That's very expensive.
That's very expensive. $109.99 for a Switch 2 Pro controller, which I know I didn't mention before, but still, that's a lot for a controller. And then the Switch 2 camera, which I mentioned before, the American one, which is $69.99. Again, these are the Canadian prices now. So like this might push the controller prices up on everybody too. Like Microsoft will be like, due to market conditions or due to like whatever, we're gonna have to raise our controllers to like $100, 110, 115, whatever the fuck the price will end up being as things settle.
Yeah, my biggest concern in this whole thing is what's it going to mean for the rest of the industry?
Yeah.
And what they're going to start to see is like acceptable to price things.
It's going to be a tidal wave of every publisher doing this.
Well, it's that perfect situation of you vote with your wallet. If you don't buy it, if nobody bought the Switch 2, if there was absolutely zero people that bought it, then they have no whales to rely on. They have only there's no ultimate hardcore. It doesn't matter the price. I will always buy it day one. Nintendo fanboys. If they didn't have that, and everybody genuinely said it's too expensive, you need to drop the price if you want people to buy it, they would be forced to drop the price.
That'd be quite a wake up for them, eh?
Yeah.
What if the sales they have a projection of some sales numbers, and what if they're like 10 million short or something like that? That'd be kind of crazy. Yeah. I doubt it, but we'll see.
I think that more people will be able to justify the price to themselves than they think. But that being said, this whole it's not just a meme. The whole drop the price thing is not just a meme. It's coming from a place.
Yeah.
The world. People in countries around the world are feeling squeezed right now. The cost of living is the highest it's ever been relative to minimum wage. People are spending far more of their money on essentials than they are hobbies and, superfluous things. We don't have as much expendable income for gaming. And I think that Nintendo, there might be some people within Nintendo that do genuinely think we can price this at whatever we want. People will always buy it.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I think that you mentioned a wake-up call. I think to an extent, it is going to be a little bit of a wake-up call. They have these projections, these ideas in their head of what sales figures they're going to hit. They're not going to hit them. The Switch 2 is too expensive.
And don't forget, Nintendo has that every other console curse.
That's true.
Now, I don't believe in that crap, but I mean,
it's also
it would be funny.
It's also not every other console. You see people say that thing, and then they're like, "Oh, but we forget we forget it. We leave it at this one because that wasn't real." And blah, 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 and they just
because the N64 was a commercial failure, right? And then so was the GameCube.
Correct. The GameCube definitely was.
Yeah.
I think the N64 was more popular retroactively.
Right.
I think at the time it didn't sell super well, but over time it sold a lot. But the GameCube did not. The GameCube had abysmal sales figures.
And you could argue the Wii was not. It was a successful console, but by the end, it was kind of cratering,
It's a spot on their history with all the shovelware that was terrible on the Wii. Yeah.
Insane amount. Well, they're still doing it on their eShop now. You just can't see it as much. Yeah. You don't walk into GameStop and see
the Wii U didn't have
crappy Wii games.
They didn't want to repeat that with the Wii U. And so their
Then
strategy
there was no
apparently was
games.
just don't have any games on it,
Yeah.
and then it can't be shovelware.
Yeah.
You know what's
All
kind of
right,
crazy about this though is like Nintendo, like everyone's been complaining about the price, and so Nintendo was like, "Cool, we're raising the price." It kind of feels like that. Like I know that there's market conditions and tariffs and this and that and whatever, and like I know that certain regions aren't affected, some are affected, and whatever. Like there's a mosaic of pricing changes, but like the ones that are going to make the headlines are, hey, hey, Nintendo, lower the price. And it's like, yeah, okay, no worries. We're going to have a discussion about this internally. Actually, we decided to raise the price. Thank you very much. This is the new MSRP. And then they just like check out back. And it's like, fuck was that?
Well, they didn't raise the price since they announced the console itself.
Not the console, no. Probably because that was part of the conversation of like, yo, if we raise this thing, we're going to get in some serious trouble. So now they're making it up with accessories. Again, I don't know if the Canadian accessories raised in price, because I just have like the Nintendo.com thing in front of me. But
we're just learning the prices in Canada.
Okay.
This is the first time we're learning the prices. We always just had the American prices and we're doing the calculations ourselves. But they said the tariffs did not play into the price itself, because that would have been determined. The tariffs were only in the last couple months. They would have determined the price long before they announced it.
Right.
So, but anyway, all right, that's the stories we got for the week. And moving on to what we're playing, Matt. Oh no, wait, who did I go last week? Anyone, I don't remember. Let's go Matt this week, I guess. Matt, what are you playing?
Well, I suppose the big news in my gaming career is that Stalker 2 is complete.
Hey,
Nice.
Thank Christ. Holy
Took a
fuck.
while.
Took a very long time.
And now you have cancer.
No.
All that radiation you took from that game.
Oh god.
No. It is pretty cool though. So I got to Pripyat and I was like rooting around a random ruin, and I didn't know what the ruin was. It was just like a, classic Stalker 2 ruin. And I went into this basement and I walked in the door and it was like super irradiated in there, and I'm super protected from it. And it ended up being, I found out it's actually the hospital where the firefighters were taken. And that was the room where all the firefighters' clothes were. Because I took a picture, because I looked and I was like, oh my God, is this the firefighter room? And I figured it was that, but I was like, well, hang on. Isn't this supposed to be a hospital? And I kept exploring and I was like, oh, I'm getting a bunch of meds in here. This is a fucking hospital. And then sure enough, it ended up being a hospital. And that was the room. It was cool seeing the Chernobyl, like kind of landmarks, like the Ferris wheel and the bumper cars. I think I found the pool as well, but it's locked up tight. But basically what had happened was in one night, so I reached Pripyat and then I did a couple of quests and I had to look up some help for one of the quests. And I got to the end of it. And in the guide, it was like, hey, like, just to let you know, the next mission is a like point of no return, and it'll warn you. So I was like, holy fuck, like I'm doing this tonight. Like I'm getting this done. It was like 1:30 a.m. I was like, I'm just going to do this. And I thought it'd be like an hour or two. I was up to 5 a.m. Because what ends up happening at the end of Stalker, which I actually don't like, which is unfortunate, is it's a set of missions in and they're linear, but the game is still an RPG that is like you gather stuff. So it's like I killed a guy and I got his weapon, but because it's like a linear game to the end and then you can't play afterwards, I can't keep that weapon. And so the reward system of Stalker, at least for me, was like, go searching, really search, like don't just take a quick peek, really search. And when you do that, you will find something cool and now you are better equipped to deal with the zone. And then that reward system is just thrown out in lieu of just like, hey, let's just have like a crazy like, gunfight. And it's like, this game's not really designed for constantly having crazy gunfights, at least not on Xbox. I don't think. So I take issue with how that was handled. I just not a fan of like the linearity of the last bit. They had some cool kind of areas where they take you to some areas of the map you've never been, and it's like, oh, yo, check this out, check that out, do this. So there's a part where it's like there's missions happening all the time, so you have to keep like seeking shelter. The issue with this last part though is I found it to be quite buggy. So I was playing it on my Xbox and I should have been playing it on PC. It was consistently dropping and sticking to around 20 FPS, I'd estimate.
Oof.
I crashed once. I had save issues where it kept saving as I was dying. So like the game didn't know if I had died yet because I hadn't animated my death, and then it would be like saving. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And so then I'd like load in and die. But then in Stalker 2, like it's kind of weird. You load a game and the game is like you can run around, but not everything's loaded yet. So I just kept like mashing the heal button so that my guy would inject himself before the game kind of realized I was dead, and that like saved me. And it was just like, okay, this is starting to get buggy. And part of this like dislike at the end is possibly because like I was kind of like, I'm getting this done. Like I didn't stop. I was like, I'm fucking doing this.
You're trying to force it, yeah. Trying to rush it.
But at the same time, like I do still think that the linear part like shouldn't have been there. Like I'm fine with a game that's open world being like, we're gonna do this part that's linear, and here's like this big spectacle, and that's kind of what this was supposed to be for. But I remember there's like just this part where I drop into a room and I have to kill, I think it was Granite Squad, and they just like kicked my ass. And it's like you have to like run around, and it's like, you know, you're kind of like doing the gunfight thing where it's like there's guys above you, there's guys below you, you're running around like crazy trying to like dodge bullets and kill them fast enough and lower the amount of people they have shooting at you. And I just like, it was the last part that you had to do. And like, I was like, I've been just like shooting this whole time. Meanwhile, the whole rest of the game was like very much like explore, have a gunfight, like sure, like have a big gunfight here and there, but it was like explore, find new things, do this and that, find weird anomalies and stuff. And then now I'm just
methodical.
Yeah, it's slow. It's slow. It's methodical with some exceptions. And now I'm just like in a fucking gunfight, and it's just like I'm not used to this, and the game isn't. This isn't Call of Duty, so I'm not a huge fan of it. Just being a gunfight. And they give you so many resources. Like I had like 75 bandages on me. And so I was just like constantly like, oh, got shot, bandage, oh, shot again, bandage, bandage. And I was just constantly bandaging, and I was never running out of resources. And then that was another thing where it's like in Stalker, it's like the resources are, I mean, kind of scarce-ish, but like for some reason, I don't know if I'm like I just don't want to use my resources, but I just had a fuckload by the end of the game, so it didn't really matter. But it just, that's my issue with it. But I do want to go back. I am going to go back, I think, and do a little bit more of Pripyat. Like Pripyat's pretty cool. What was really cool was that underneath that hospital, I looked through a crack in a door in the basement, and I could see this like crazy fucking machine. And it was like a super detailed room. And I was like, what in the fuck is that? And I assumed it was part of the story because I couldn't find a way in. And so I just continued the story and ended up beating it, like I said, but it never came up. And so I was like, well, this is definitely something I'm supposed to like find or discover. So I kind of want to go back and like explore Pripyat a little more, because a lot of the interiors are available to you. It's dangerous as fuck though. Like you'll hear like a radio chatter, like someone spotted you, but like they're talking to like their own team, and you'll just hear like a little bit of a radio noise. You're like, what's that? And just get shot in the head by a sniper. So that's Pripyat. But I rated the game, like I marked it as completed on playlist. I rated the game a 9. Like the story at the end was very good. It was just the technical issues, and which I probably should have been playing on PC, and the fact that I didn't like that it was linear for so long specifically. But yeah, I've really enjoyed Stalker 2. Like if you're looking for something that's like a Fallout but very gritty and has like a pretty complex and like crazy winding story that links into the other games. And then you can go play those other games too, of course, because they've re-released them on console for the first time, and they're accessible on modern PCs as well. I think actually not even re-released on consoles. I think it released on consoles for the first time. You can go check out that series. But and I'm happy to have completed it because I just purchased Space Marine 2. It was on sale. And I think I texted you guys. I was like, I need to kick some ass. I'm tired of getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do an action-packed, like, I'm just going to go beat up some Tyranids or whatever the hell they're called in Space Marine 2. And then I want to move on to either potentially Oblivion HD or remastered, or Atomfall. I did install Atomfall from Xbox Game Pass, so I might try that because I hear that's really, really good. And I've been keen on that. But that's the big news of the week. That's been my week. It's been crazy, but I finally knocked one off the list.
Tim?
I mean, not a ton. I like I said, I had started playing Baldur's Gate 3 with patch 8 coming out. I had a hell of a time trying to just get it to work in the first place because I had the last time I played it on PC was December of 2023. So it's been over a year, and I forgot that I had installed mods both through the there was an unofficial Baldur's Gate mod manager, and then there was also the like Vortex mod manager from the Nexus mods. And you know, they had each installed mods in different ways. And so just going to one of the mod managers and trying to do like run an uninstall didn't necessarily work. And I was also struggling to even get the Baldur's Gate 3 mod manager to open to even try to address the stuff while I was like actively downloading patch 8. So there was a bit of a wash of a day where I tried to like get it to work, just couldn't get it to work. I barely got the game able to like boot, and then even if it did, it was like buggy as hell. So I had to effectively do a complete clean wipe and clean install of the game. And somebody wrote a really great guide online for like manually uninstalling mod files, because it is a very like popular game to mod, and so there was need for somebody to write that guide, which I really appreciate. Telling you like what folders to go into, and then like, you know, check here for these files and these kinds of files, and make sure you delete them, and then, you know, go back to your game. And if you have the Steam version, and like re-verify the integrity of your game files to make sure the game reinstalls anything that it needs that you may have accidentally deleted while you were deleting mod files. And so after I did that, I booted the game up and it worked a treat. So that was great. And then it only took one day for me to be like, what if I start checking and see what mods are patch 8 compatible now? The difference there being I have solely used the built-in first-party mod manager in the game. They have something similar for Baldur's Gate that like Skyrim has, where they have the like built-in creation club, and you can download the mods straight from there, from the main menu of the game, and it just installs them all for you, and it handles all that. Just cosmetic stuff though. It's just like different hairstyles, different face styles. You know, there's like you can get different armor and clothing dye sets that people have modded. It's all just cosmetic stuff. So just something to add a little bit extra variety to the playthrough, because like I've probably played through the entirety of Baldur's Gate's story like at least 4 times, maybe 5. And I've gotten halfway through the game probably half a dozen times. I've started up new files so many times, like with so many different groups of people and stuff. So I'm very familiar with the game. So anything that helps keep things a little bit fresh when you're going through the same quest, the same story, you're grabbing the same gear every time is always appreciated. So yeah, some basic modded stuff there. But with patch 8, it's the final patch, the last big content update. And they've added 1 new subclass for every class in the game. So 12 new subclasses. And what was really cool was in my tabletop game that I'm playing with friends, the campaign we've been playing for about 2 years now, my character is a multi-class of 2 of the subclasses that they added to patch 8. They added the Hexblade for the Warlock, and they added Shadow Sorcery for Sorcerers. And so I was like, this is awesome. I can like recreate my character that I played D&D with in Baldur's Gate. So that's kind of like the point of this playthrough, is to make this character and make all the same decisions that I think that character would make if he was in this world, in this situation. So that's been a lot of fun. And I've only like just started doing that this week, which is why I was saying before, like, I would really hate to have to drop it for Oblivion. But you know, I don't like we have said, I don't think that's going to be the case. You know, I don't think it's coming out next week. Like you said, it's probably going to be some announcement date, or that, you know, we can pre-order it now or whatever, starting next week. But or maybe we'll wait until June and we'll have that showcase. So we'll see. But
that'll benefit your Baldur's Gate playthrough.
It'll benefit the Baldur's Gate, yeah. But aside from that, largely not much, honestly. I haven't touched Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in a little while. I haven't really touched much of Monster Hunter Wilds. It's mostly been Baldur's Gate, even in my own time. A lot of my like gaming in the evenings has been with friends, and we were already doing a Baldur's Gate playthrough for a couple of months now, and so we had patch 8 installed, and we've done 1 session since then, and some of us respect our characters to try out some of the new subclasses and stuff. So that's been it's been Baldur's Gate anyway. So it's just funny that you know, patch 8 coincided with our existing playthrough, and it was nice that we didn't have to like lose our save because of the patch, because there were patches in the past for Baldur's Gate where when the new patch came out, previous save files from the old patch were no longer compatible. So thankfully this was not one of those times. aside from that, like it's pretty much just been what we've been doing on Wednesday nights, playing Crime Boss, Rock City, ridiculous game. I guess you and I played it. What was that? Last Friday, Matt?
Something like that. It was
or an evening on a Sunday night or something.
One of the weekend evenings.
Yeah. But just that pretty much. Honestly, we'll have to get back to more Orcs Must Die soon.
I thought you were gonna say back to the streets are okay.
Well, that too.
Man, yeah,
That's the assumption.
As for myself, it's kind of all hands on deck for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm like 46 hours into it, and it feels like there's another 46 hours to go.
Holy fuck!
I'm feeling the Matt Lawrence playing Stalker. That's the way I'm feeling right now.
The fatigue.
Not so much fatigue. Well, I guess I'm not feeling like that then. I just mean like he's playing a big long game, and I'm also playing a big long game. But Avowed had been put on the back burner because I just cannot play two games at the same time. I don't know what it is. Two single player games, I should say. I don't know what it is. It's just weird. Me and Matt did play Fortnite one night.
Yeah, I gave it a try. Just wanted to check out the new season.
We both were tempted to buy the Sabrina Carpenter skin.
I absolutely was not. I don't even have the battle pass.
Wink, wink.
And what else? Probably Call of Duty somewhere in there, right, Matt?
Well, we had a Call of Duty incident where like it re-downloaded the whole freaking game for me.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was weird.
Yeah. So hey, though I streamed it. I streamed Call of Duty with a backbone using my phone.
Streaming saved the night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We've both streamed it now. Remember, I was at my vacation home and I streamed it there.
Yep.
We're playing Call of Duty. Look at us, Xbox boys.
I stream games a lot.
Shoulder button boys.
Oh my god.
And that's it. Overwatch. Played a bunch of that because the season just is ending this week, I think. And
is this your last season?
No.
Man, you're still going. It's crazy because like
I like
really
Overwatch,
but you really have people to play with. Like, I mean, you like it, but like it's just it's one of those games where oftentimes it's like it's only good with friends.
It mostly is only good with friends, and so maybe I'll wait and see if I like the skins in the battle pass, and maybe this could be the last one, Matt, because you're right. I'm not playing with Marty much. I think Aaron deleted it because he was playing Marvel Rivals instead, which I've dropped off of. I haven't really kind of stuck with that. Marty was playing the other night. I have I'm playing Baldur's Gate as well with Aaron and a couple other friends. So I got a campaign going there too.
Didn't you convince somebody to get Elden Ring? Or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I got to play through Elden Ring again.
What?
Yeah. I don't got time. We'll see what happens.
What have I done?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's everything for this week. Thanks for listening. Tim, where can they watch you on the Twitcherino?
Yep, like I said, doing a lot of Baldur's Gate. Obviously, some Oblivion to come if it comes out anytime soon. But before then, Baldur's Gate 3, very mildly modded because I'm mostly trying to do this playthrough to highlight the new like patch 8 content. Twitch.tv/the sidetrack, where we are always following the main story only and not getting distracted at all. And then, like we mentioned before, sometimes, occasionally Wednesday nights, 8:30-ish, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the twitch.tv/day1patchmedia, where we've been playing usually like competitive, or rather cooperative, like shooter stuff. Recently, Crime Boss Rock City.
Man, that game is weirdly super fun.
It has no right being as good as it is. It is absolutely no right. I want to know what they paid Chuck Norris to voice act in that game, because they probably should have bumped it up a little bit.
I was gonna say, God, I hope it was a lot, and he still gave that performance.
He's an actor. He was an actor. He knows what it means to like deliver a line. I'm not gonna say that Chuck Norris was the best actor that ever lived, but he should understand it. And like, God damn, it was bad. It's so bad.
The comic relief cop, is what I would call him, is a better like I think he calls him LT. He's a better actor.
He's way
Chuck
better,
Norris.
and he's like his character design is the most like this character was made in like looks like a game jam game character.
Yeah.
Or like one of those like sim games where all the characters look like really generic NPC. That's what he looks like. And he's a more compelling character than Chuck Norris as the sheriff or whatever.
Man, you should really try that campaign out.
I did play it.
Yeah, it's weirdly good, right? Like it's interesting, the roguelike elements.
I didn't play it long enough to like end a run or anything.
Okay.
I'm still pretty early in a run, I think, but yeah, it's pretty good.
And
No,
Rocky
sorry,
City.
did you mention where we're streaming?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's it. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey yo, peace.